Well, it's taken me nearly 3 years, a series of re-uploads, and a litany of many strange and wonderful games I've come across, but we've finally reached the next big milestone in my number of reviews. That's right, this review marks my 75th YouTube review, and for those of you who are curious, I have gone back and made sure that this is genuinely the 75th review, not the 74th or something like that as what happened last time we came to such a big milestone. Anyways, as you know, I tend to review games from my childhood every 25 reviews, and for this one I pondered long and hard as to what I should take a look at. It was actually pretty difficult to decide what to review for this special. There's quite a number of games from the good old days that I'd like to talk about at some point in the future, and out of all of them, I tried to pick a significant enough game to do a special review for. And then when I was browsing through old messages out of nothing but pure boredom, a random request by Ryan1Gamer from about 2 years ago or thereabouts gave me the ultimate inspiration for what should be the game I review for the special 75th review. So, ladies, gentlemen, and others, welcome to Father Dougal 8000's special 75th review for Kingdom Hearts 2 for the PlayStation 2. Kingdom Hearts 2 was a long-awaited sequel to the 2002 smash-hit RPG, Kingdom Hearts, a game that became incredibly famous for its unusual premise of crossing over Disney with Final Fantasy of all things, its unique real-time combat system, and having several famous actors reprise their roles as beloved characters and take on brand new roles. Directed by well-known Square-Enix character designer Tetsuya Nomura, the game quickly became a hit with gamers worldwide, and after a particularly mysterious teaser left at the end of the game, the fanbase clamored for some kind of sequel, and after a well-received Game Boy Advance spin-off Chain of Memories, we finally got one. In 2005/2006, depending on where you live, 3 to 4 years after the original's release, Kingdom Hearts 2 was released to fantastic reception from critics and gamers alike, though these days it's often the first game that gets a lot more love. Seeing as Kingdom Hearts 3 has finally been announced after nothing but years of handheld spin-offs with ridiculous names, the recent HD remaster of the original being released with the PlayStation 3, and the announcement that 2 will also be getting a HD re-release alongside Birth of Sleep, now it's just about the right time to take a look at this crossover RPG sequel and see just how well it's held up over the years. The original Kingdom Hearts concerned a young boy named Sora who, along with his friends Riku and Kairi, were whisked away from their home of Destiny Islands by a strange force of creatures called the Heartless, led by the villains of several Disney movies from Jafar to Hades all the way up to Maleficent. Finding out that he was able to use a weapon capable of destroying the Heartless called a Keyblade, Sora teamed up with the missing Royal King Mickey's loyal subjects, Donald and Goofy, to travel across many worlds in order to save them from the Heartless and ultimately find Riku and Kairi. By the end of the first game, he'd managed to find Kairi and save the worlds, but over a year later, he wakes up from a mysterious slumber to find the world's in danger yet again, and a new breed of enemies known as Nobodies, led by the enigmatic Organization 13. With Donald and Goofy in tow once more, Sora sets off to travel through several worlds, some old, some new, to defeat the Heartless and Nobodies, find Riku and King Mickey, and ultimately discover the mystery surrounding Organization 13, and in particular, their relations with them. Not those kinds of relations, you nuts! Kingdom Hearts 2 is an action-based RPG where the goal is to complete the given mission in whatever world you come across, be it defeating the Heartless, find a missing character, and more. You control Sora with the left analog stick, look around the world by moving the right analog stick, can activate commands from attacking enemies to using items and more by scrolling up and down the menu with the D-pad and confirming it with the X button. You jump with circle, you lock onto enemies via the R1 button, use certain special abilities with square, use L1 as a shortcut to use certain items or magic attacks, and when highlighted in either battle or simply roaming around the world, you use reaction commands with triangle. At the beginning of the game, you start off as a pretty weak character who won't stand much chance against the terrors you have to fight. However, you can become stronger by leveling up, which is obtained with experience gained from killing enemies. When you level up, your stats increase to make you a more formidable opponent, but you also gain special abilities, stat upgrades, and the like that can be equipped in the pause menu accessed by pressing select, provided you have the appropriate number of action points to do so. As well as this, you can also collect money to buy items, weapons, and the like in shops scattered across the various worlds, special items that you can use to create new items with the synthesize system, orbs that restore your health points and magic point meters, and orbs that refill the drive gauge. What's the drive gauge, you ask? Well, by sacrificing Donald, Goofy, or both, you can temporarily gain a new form with a special gimmick ranging from faster speed to higher jumps and so forth, that'll help you out in the trickier battles throughout the game. Speaking of friends, you can team up with characters besides Donald and Goofy depending on what worlds you go to, and unlike the first game, you can change teammates on the fly or in the pause menu instead of only at specific save points, though that option is still available if you prefer it that way. And finally, you can travel from world to world with a gummy ship, though unlike the original, it's a much more exciting affair with the shooting sections being only every once in a while, and a far more hectic gameplay style akin to Star Fox meshed with F-Zero meshed with Speedballs. There's a lot more to go on about the gameplay, but I think I'm just about reaching the limit for how to concisely describe the game mechanics of Kingdom Hearts 2 if I'm being honest. So let's get on to a number of other things about the game, shall we? While I do very much love Kingdom Hearts 2, it'd be a disservice to my job of unofficial internet reviewer not to go into what problems the game has. The first of which is quite a big problem regarding the game's plot. There's literally tons upon tons of filler. It's surprising that for all the worlds that feature in the game, you could cut out about half of them and nothing would change. It's especially strange that most of the worlds bar Space Paranoids fall victim to this trap. You think the worlds from the first game returning would be more pointless given the plots to their movies were already adapted, but oddly enough they're far more relevant to the game's proceedings than the rest of the Disney-related worlds, with one or two exceptions of course. Now, as I've said before, I have no issue with filler as long as it does something to develop the characters and the universe in some way, shape, or form beyond simply watching the movies the worlds are based on, but most of them, well, don't. Instead, they just fanny about and contribute nothing more than fan service, which might be fine if this game wasn't a million hours long as it already is. What's even more annoying is that most of this occurs in the second half of the game, so basically in the time between the dramatic plot revelation that shakes our hero to his core and the events that lead up to the final battle are basically interspersed with this.
But Donald, Goofy, and I can get rid of them for you, and then we can go see Santa!
This.
Hakuna
Matata!
Hakuna
Matata!
And this.
Swing the swivel, dance and the play. Now it's very easy, come on and just take a chance and shake a feet.
Let the music move you, you can do it!
Don't be shy, let the music inside and dance, dance, dance.
Ah yes, that brings me along to another issue. This game is astonishingly cheesy. Not that I have a problem with cheesy things. I love Batman the Brave and the Bold after all, but the extents that this game goes to with its silliness can get cringeworthy to even the silliest of people. Seriously, the first thing our main protagonist does when he wakes up from his year-long sleep is this.
Donald! Goofy!
I know it's a Disney game and everything, but good God, this makes Teletubbies look like Telltale's The Walking Dead. It's particularly odd given that some of the subject matter the plot delves into is pretty heavy. Morally ambiguous antagonists, existentialist drama, and so on. It's like Evangelion with weird-ass haircuts. So to contrast the subject matter with, say, Sora playing with Winnie the Pooh, it's just really, really distracting. But does the gameplay itself have any problems? Just one. Aside from the fact that most of the second half has no point to exist whatsoever. And that point is the combat can get very irritating at times. Some of the enemies and bosses encountered over the course of the game are really annoying to fight thanks to them spamming their attacks, leaving you very little opportunity to fight back or some other hellish thing designed to drive players absolutely batty from only being able to fight them in certain spots to just being a pain to try and attack in the first place. Given how fun the combat is, it's rage-inducing that there has to be a problem this big and this annoying with it. Nevertheless, even in spite of all these problems, it has to be said that Kingdom Hearts 2 is a very good game, especially given that the issues I mentioned would have considerably damaged a lesser game. For one thing, the graphics are some of the best I've seen on the PlayStation 2. While some of the character models can look a little off, particularly the more realistic ones, most of them are very nicely animated in both gameplay and a vast majority of the cutscenes, which simply look wonderful with animations filled to the brim with life and character that surpasses even a fair number of big-budget animated movies. The effects used throughout the game give a grander sense of scale to the battles and the overall universe. The frame rate never lets up even when there's hundreds of enemies on screen, and the worlds are all distinct and colorful, giving us a game that's aged better than most other games of its time. While we're going on about the technical side of things, the audio was also great to listen to. The soundtrack, composed by series mainstay Yoko Shimomura, is just as awesome as ever, providing themes of all manner of different moods, soothing songs, action-packed themes, and so forth that achieve my 3 personal rules of background music in anything. They're memorable, they fit damn near perfectly with what's going on, and are really enjoyable to listen to on their own. As well as the voice acting for the game is also very good, with industry veterans reprising the roles from either the original game or characters featured in Disney movies, alongside a few new actors and actresses such as Jesse McCartney, Brittany Snow, and even Christopher Lee that stand alongside everyone else just as easily in voice acting quality. Yes, some of the lines can be unbearably cheesy, but you can tell that they're certainly not phoning them in. Speaking of the plot, I'll be fair and say that while it has its fair share of issues, as I've talked about earlier, I thought the plot was actually pretty good. Things can get a tad obtuse and gratingly cringeworthy, but when the story and characters hit a high note, they hit it amazingly well. I'm sorry if I'm being really vague about this, but a lot of the best moments have huge spoilers attached to them, so all I can really say is that it's generally done well, and when it's good, it's really damn good. And despite the filler plaguing the second half of the game, I do like how much stuff there is to do. As well as the main game, there are dozens of side missions and mini-games to play in the worlds that range from tournaments to loads of gummy ship missions to admittedly enjoyable musical numbers. Yes, I actually like Atlantica, it's a guilty pleasure, alright? Still, if you're looking for a game with lots of things to do, then Kingdom Hearts 2 is definitely one of the best places to go. And how's about we finally get to the gameplay aspect of things? Well, to sum it up, it's really freaking good. The combat can get a bit repetitive, but it's made up for by some excellent gameplay that is literally tons of awesome fun. There really isn't anything quite cathartic as unleashing powerful attacks on legions of heartless and nobodies alike, pulling off very well animated and badass reaction commands to land the killing blow, and teaming up with your favorite Disney and Final Fantasy characters to dish out some of the best looking combos in recent history. And that's not even getting into the boss battles, most of which are fucking amazing! Several of the game's best moments gameplay-wise are set around these battles where you go up against enormous, heartless Disney villains and more that are just really exciting to experience. Seriously, there are boss battles in this game that outclass not just those from our JRPGs, but other video games end of line. The animations and set pieces are even more outstanding than before, the effects and reaction commands are top-notch, and when you think you've seen it all, something else pops out of the blue to deliver a hell of a surprise. In the end, Kingdom Hearts 2 is a very good game with great graphics that hold up really well, really good music and voice acting, a pretty good story with a few amazing bits here and there, lots of side missions and minigames to tackle, and fantastic hack and slash gameplay alongside some extremely excellent boss battles. However, it's brought down somewhat by tons of filler, especially in the second half, an inconsistent tone brought about by a union of dark subject matter and incredibly cheesy dialogue and set pieces, and some very irritating enemies slash bosses seen throughout the game. If you're a fan of hack and slash games, Japanese RPGs, nonsensical crossovers that still work quite well, or any combination of the above, I highly recommend you get Kingdom Hearts 2. You won't regret it. This game gets a rating of very good. A great game, but is let down by a few noticeable problems. I'm Father Dugan 8000, and I hope you enjoyed watching my 75th review. To everyone who's watched my stuff over the last 3 years or thereabouts, to fans of my work, people who support me in both real life and on the internet, family, friends, and most importantly to you, the viewer, I thank you all for watching and everything else. Who'd have thought some guy from the Irish countryside would wind up with over 400 subscribers and nearly 250,000 upload views? Definitely not I. In any case, keep on watching, I hope you all enjoy whatever else I make in the future, and until we meet again, have a great life, y'all.